Hello, good evening. This is Joey, Dancing Dietitians, and I will be presenting all about beans and legumes for part 2 today. So last sessions we talked about legumes and pulses that actually they're all under the legume family. All right, these are the examples, and they are being a really wonderful protein sources for the plant protein as compared to the animal protein. It does have lots of advantages and benefits for the human, for us. So continuation for part 1 today, I will be sharing about azuki bean, the red beans. So commonly when you see like azuki bean is really made for the dessert. Okay, so for introductions, azuki bean they are small beans. They are native to East Asia and Himalayan region, and it's usually commonly eaten by Japanese, Chinese, and Korean and other Asian countries. The beans that you can often see that are often in red, but there are also some kind of in white, black, and mottled, those with spots. And for recipe, they're usually primarily used for both sweet like the red bean paste and also the savory dishes. For example, like the candies, ice cream, cakes, or even topping for the waffle, biscuits, or bread. And so for our Malaysian local, even mooncake and dumplings also can have, or buns also can be in the red bean filling. So azuki beans has a great amount of fiber, protein, and especially the complex carbohydrates and manganese. That's why we don't categorize the azuki beans as the beans actually. So in nutrition perspective, they are actually being categorized as whole grains or beans, whole grain or beans. They are not under the protein. Okay, so they are rich in antioxidants. It's kind of up to 39 different types to fight against the aging and chronic diseases. So with its soluble fiber content, it does help to improve the digestion, like improve the stimulate the bowel movement. Okay, and then the fiber as well also improve the insulin sensitivity and also reduce the chances of blood sugar spiking. So therefore, it can reduce the diabetes risk. Also, it helps in weight loss. For example, you like once you consume the SK beans, you increase the genes that decrease the hunger and increase the feeling of fullness. Yeah, that's why the weight loss goal can be achieved. And in some the research, there's also found that it may help in detoxifications, like it contains a mineral called molybdenum. Yeah, but more research should be done in order to like further justify the process of azuki bean in detoxification. Right, next, mung bean, or commonly known as the green beans, is actually a pulse and edible seed from the legumes plant family, as we uh, mentioned previous sessions. It has a mild flavor, so it allowing it to be blended well into various of flavorful dishes. For example, like soup, stews, sorry for the spelling error, salads, and also curry. So again, for the mung beans and also the sweet beans that are classified as carbohydrate sources, like okay, they are the wonderful from complex carbohydrate sources, like for example, like the fiber and starches. So they does help to provide energy. It's almost fat free. So 1 cup of mung beans only contains 0.8 grams of fat. And it's actually protein packed as well. Like 1 cup of mung beans will contain 14.2 grams of protein, which is equivalent to 1 serving of protein. So again, it does rich in vitamins and minerals. Okay, again, actually there are most of the beans and legumes that their functions or their health benefits are almost similar. So for the gut, they are the gut health guardians. Oh, again, with the soluble fiber, especially the pectin, it does help to support the bowel movement. And also the resistant starch, which is part of the carbohydrates component, it does nourish the gut bacteria. Therefore, it can sustain a healthy gut environment. Therefore, strengthen the immune system. And also, it does has antioxidants to fight off or to fight against the free radicals, which is linked to aging and chronic diseases, and also heart disease, cancer, and others. So, okay, on the right, also mention like what kind of antioxidants? The Vidaxin and isovidaxin, which is found to be able to prevent the heat stroke. That's why we often consume the mung bean, sweet mung bean soup during the hot summer day with the effect of cooling. Besides that, it does helps to reduce or better control of the blood pressure. For example, it has a rich content of potassium, magnesium, and fiber. But then more research is required to claim some of the protein in the mung beans can help to suppress the enzyme that may raise your blood pressure naturally. Again, more research is needed to justify this. So attention, any sweet soup or tong soy lover here? Yeah, you can raise up your hand if you are. Okay, the sweet soup actually itself has like high level added sugar. That's why it calls it sweet soup. Sometimes up to 30 grams of sugar per 300 ml bowl serving, as you can see in the pictures below. So the demonstrations is like 1 teaspoon of sugar equals to 5 grams of sugar. So you can imagine how crazy the added sugar are. Okay, is it we are all added into the sweet soup. And also, most of these sweet soups, soy, they are made with starchy beans. For example, like red algae beans and the mung beans that I mentioned just now, and also some starchy vegetable like the sweet potato or yam. Okay. So what's so scary about the added sugar is because the recommended added sugar intake should be 10% of your total daily calorie intake. So for example, for the average adult, their calorie intake should be around 2,000 kcal per day. So 10% out of the 2,000 kcal actually the how much added sugar they can take a day is around 50 grams. So as you can see on the right, it's around 50 grams. So one bowl of sweet soup has already occupied or used up more than half of your sugar quota, your added sugar quota a day. All right. So what should we do? Sharing is caring. So whenever you are ordering like tom soy or just soup, do share with your family or friends. Okay, or just share into the small, serve it into the smaller serving like smaller bowls. Okay, or even some of the sugar syrup, they are added separately. So you can ask for like separate the sugars or extra. They don't add extra sugar into your sweet soup. Or even you can go for homemade. Just make your own sweet soup. So therefore you can further control the sugar intake. Therefore, you can still enjoy it with lesser burden and guilt. All right, next, the soybean. Soybean itself is actually a complete protein source that contains all the essential amino acid that needs their body. So that's why it's suitable for the vegan consumptions. It does not like you have to uh eat a lot of combinations just to meet all your protein needs a day. And then for the soybean, it usually mostly being used for oil making, like soybean oil, or even made into different forms of the soy product, like soy milk, tofu bean curd, tempeh, natto. Okay. So the key thing in the soybean is the isoflavones, which which has all these health benefits. For example, like it helps to reduce the cancer risk. Studies has found that it does reduce the risk of breast cancer and prostate cancer. Besides that, it also support the bone health. So it's much more helpful in those our older women who already has a high risk of osteoporosis in their later life. Why? Because women will go through the menopause. That's why isoflavones also helps to elevate the menopause symptoms because of the reductions of estrogens, which happen naturally. Okay, and then it's tied with the menopause is tied with the bone health on it and the risk of osteoporosis. Okay, so edamame, soybean and edamame. So what are they? Are they the same? Yes, they are the same. It's just that the edamame itself is the immature soybean, where the edamame, the beans were harvested when it was still tender green. Okay, so if you want to get a soybean, you just leave it until it's ripened, then you harvest it. You will get a dry up soybean. Both of them both contain omega-3 fatty acids. They are both low in saturated fat and they have no cholesterol level in that. However, the soybean has better B vitamins than other mineral profiles as compared to edamame. Okay, so in the table we can see some significant difference among all these nutrients. For example, like the protein, carbohydrates, the MUFA and PUFA fatty acids. Okay, it depends on like what's your purpose or what purpose or is there any goals or in your diet. That's where you can play around with the soybean or edamame. So if you like really I have to find a new plant-based protein source, you go for edamame. Okay. But then for as a soybean, it does contain a carbohydrate. So for those who have diabetes, do watch out whenever you consume the soybean products or even the soy milk, soybean products. Okay. Okay. So most of the people might think that there's a relationship between the soybean or soy products consumptions and breast cancer. Actually, the plant estrogens, the isoflavone that I mentioned just now in soybeans, does not increase the risk of breast cancer. But then study also found that it does help to prevent the occurrence or the growth of breast tumor. So by right, you should consume or eat moderate amount of soy food. Okay? And without worrying about like increase the risk of the breast cancer or any other type of cancer. So how much is a moderate? Just take 1 to 2 serving a day of the whole soy food. Just like mentioned just now, the tofu, soybean curd, soy milk, and edamame, and more. Okay. The plant estrogens again does not necessarily increase the risk of breast cancer. Okay, next the black eyed peas. Even though we mentioned it's like peas, but then it is actually because today our topic is talk about the beans and legumes. So black eyed peas are actually legumes. It's a bean, but not a pea. And the other name also being known as cowpea. Again, black eyed peas is named from its appearance of obviously. It has a cream white color bean with a black spot that resembles an eye in the center. And then in our local, it can be found in the can or in the dried form. It is a great source of complex carbohydrates, soluble fiber, protein, and other micronutrients such as folate, copper, the B1 vitamins, and iron. So actually, they are almost the same, but then for the black eyed peas, it does helps to support the eye and skin health as well because it does rich in beta carotene, which will be transformed into vitamin A for the eye and skin health. Okay. Again, back to the soluble fiber, the fiber thingy. Yeah, it does help to lower the bad LDL cholesterol, thus you reduce the risk of coronary heart disease. maintain healthy weight by reducing the level of ghrelin, the hunger hormone. That's why uh, we're emphasizing on consuming beans and legumes or any other fiber-rich food is because it does have this so-called magic telling you that if you are not hungry, telling you that you can stop eating right now. Yeah, so that's where we can maintain a healthy weight or achieve your weight loss target. Also found study also found that it may help to lower the blood pressure and inflammations because of getting back to the antioxidants or minerals that helps to control the blood pressure. Okay, the fiber again promote the digestive health. It does sustain it. Fiber itself is being a food, the prebiotics, the food for the gut bacteria, the probiotics, the living bacteria that live in your guts, right? So the healthy gut, healthy body, and strong immune system. How do we like usually prepare the black eyed peas? Usually we again similar to the other kinds of beans, but you have to soak and boil for 30 minutes. Sometimes can up to 1 to 2 hours, depending on your own preferences, texture preference. Also, they're also being very versatile, so it can be prepared in both sweet and savory soup or any other dishes that you like. Suppose like the tong soy, the sweet soup, Hakka rice dumpling, or even can mash it in, become the hummus, just like the chickpea that we mentioned in the previous sessions. Just you can play around with all these ingredients. Okay, some are the issues like whenever we introduce our customer, whether would you like to take include more of the beans or legumes in their diet? So some of them I reflected my feedback that eating all these beans beside from the effort they have to pre-soak it overnight. There's also that one so that's why they'll go for the canned one, those can in the thin one, the soak in the liquids one. Because they don't have to soak it or cook it themselves, they just open the can and have it. But then whenever they consume all the beans, they'll feel like bloated, like gassy, flatulence. Yeah. So what you can do is that again, there's no other ways. You just have to try to soak the beans overnight in the water if you are using the dry beans. Okay. Okay. Once after overnight soak it, drain the water away and then rinse it before you start cooking in the beans in the fresh water. Why? Is to decrease or remove the oligosaccharide content that cause the gas formations in your stomach. Okay, by soaking, you cook it in the pressure cooker also can reduce the oligosaccharide content furthermore, right? And also there's another other way, which is you cook the beans with kombu. For example, like you're making a soup, the kombu pieces as you can see in the pictures, also being used boiled soup as a soup stock. Okay, so the kombu has the enzyme called alpha galactosidase, can helps to break down the oligosaccharide, the one that cause the gas formations in the beans. Okay, so it's recommended to cook it together whenever you are to the because prepare a stew. Yeah, this is what we can suggest to you to reduce the chances of being bloated from eating beans and legumes. So is there any other nutritional difference between sprouted and non-sprouted? Because we have heard a lot about like people start sprouting their own I said own sprouted beans or legumes. For example, like dals, mung beans. Actually, mung beans and bean sprout they are quite common lah. The key thing is the germinations, like the sprouting process, does improve the nutritional value of the beans. For example, like the increase the content of flavonoids, the vitamin C, polyphenol, all these antioxidants. Okay, as you can see in the graphic there. Okay. So once sprouted, despite that the micronutrients like the carbohydrates and the protein does reduce all along during the germination or sprouting process. And then the vitamins and minerals, for example, like the vitamin C, the vitamin K, okay, all this has a significant increases during the throughout the germination or sprouting process. So it does helps to replenish all the nutrients. Yeah. So the key thing is try to have more variety of the legumes or beans or vegetables or sprouted grains into your diet. Okay. Some of you might heard that there's actually nutrients. There are nutrients and also anti-nutrients. So what are the anti-nutrients? Because you might heard that there's something in the food that might interfere with the absorptions of the nutrients into your body. Yeah. Okay. What is anti-nutrients? They are the substances that usually block or interfere, affect the absorptions of nutrients into our bodies. So in this case of the like dry beans, legumes, and peas, all these food items they do contain these three anti-nutrients: the phytate, lectin, and saponin. So phytate, or is called as the phytic acid, it will interfere with the absorptions of iron, zinc, magnesium, and calcium. And lectin, you affect the calcium, iron, phosphorus, and zinc. And also, actually, they are all other minerals because they have charges that they might interfere with the absorptions of the other of these nutrients, okay, chemically. And then lastly, saponin is stuff that just overall nutrient absorptions will be interrupted. So again, how to reduce the amount of anti-nutrients? There are no other ways. It's just to soak it overnight, discard the water, and cook it in the fresh water. Okay, so soaking and cook it again, soak it overnight and cook it again does help to remove all these anti-nutrients as well as the gas producing component in the beans and legumes. Okay. Okay. So thank you for your attendance. So if you have any questions, any further questions or any title that you wish to hear from us, do drop us a text via the WhatsApp or in the group as well. Okay. Just to alert us that any kind of other topics that you would like to hear from us, and then we will share it through our monthly e-nutrition classroom. Okay. And also do you may PM direct message to me or through the number the number you can see on the screen. Okay, just to provide any further feedback on our uh, presentations on our content. Okay, we'll very much appreciate that. Okay, all right. So thank you for attendance. Good night.